yet you cannot get the media to focus on this and talk about the truth of the matter. They still have this notion that the Democrats are the wild-eyed spenders and the Republicans are the sober budget balancers. It's just an utter nonsense.
And what would it take to change that? You have a pretty stiff critique of the Democratic Party as well. What needs to be in place to really shift and myth bust? Because as you point out, they're really hypocrites when it comes to spending. What would it take?
Well, I think Democrats should stop being tax collectors for the Republican tax cuts. I think that what has been missing in public policy since 1989 is a strong and vocal left socialist liberal movement in this country that could pull the Democratic Party to the left the same way the Tea Party and the many, many different organizations on the right funded by the Kochs and other rich billionaires that pull the Republican Party to the right. I think what's happened is that both parties have moved to the right, and the Democrats have stayed relatively as far to the left of the Republicans as they've always been. It's just that because the Republicans are further right, they're now not really on the objective left at all. They're in the center.
Right. Do you have any advice for people out there who might be wanting to be truth tellers themselves but are worried about becoming pariahs? What have you learned over the years?
Well, all I can say is things change, okay? I mean, when I was young, one of the reasons I joined the conservative movement, the Republican Party, is because the left, the progressive movement, the Democratic Party was dominant. I mean, we were coming out of the Great Society. We had huge big government programs and high taxes, and the media was truly quite liberal. But that has all changed. It's now 180 degrees opposite. The right is now in a very dominant position in the media and in government. And the only thing I can say is if it changed once in one direction, it can change again back into another direction. I would point to the 1880s in American history when the robber barons and so on were very, very powerful, and the politics were very similar to those of today. But that was followed by the progressive era and a movement back in the other direction. So I think, we're overdue for realignment.
And we're glad that you're there storming the barricades with the rest of us. We really appreciate it. I really appreciate your joining us today and your perspective and your willingness to talk about times past and what's going on in the present. And I look forward to talking to you again.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
One of the sad but amusing sort of natural experiments that unfolded in our country over the last 10 years was Kansas Governor Sam Brownback's famous trickle-down experiment.
And he was swept into office in 2010 with a simple promise to provide, quote, a shot of adrenaline into the heart of the Kansas economy. An unfortunate metaphor borrowed from Pulp Fiction, where he's a coked-up hitman and Kansas is a junkie who's ODing on the floor.